I really like Seiko watches. I have quite a few, and I think that I have enough to where I could actually create quite a bit of content going over nothing but Seiko watches. I can create plenty of videos. That being said, one of my all-time favorites and most worn watches that I have is my Seiko SKX009 that you see right here. And this one is
Teddy Baldessar said it's
what?
time to move on from the SKX.
He did. Okay. I love Teddy. Time to move on. What?
And while it's only fair to call out the obvious shortcomings of not being able to hack and unwind at this kind of modern day and age, I think we have to always respect it for what it represented in the market. And I think we just have to wait for that successor from Seiko to eventually come. It's a hard pill to swallow for many people that have been into watches for some time because the SKX was that gateway drug.
So, yeah. I don't know if it's time to move on. Teddy, how dare you talk about the SKX with anything other than godly reverence, you turtleneck wearing egghead looking son of a... So while Teddy is right in so many aspects, he is wrong in a few. And I love Teddy's videos. I watch them. Super informative, super entertaining. If you really want to know a lot about the minutia, the fine details of information of horology, Teddy's videos are great. He doesn't need my endorsement by any means. He's got like 1 billion subscribers. Point being is that he's right. There are certain things about the 7S26 and specifically the SKX, watch that, maybe it is time to move on. The new movements are more modern. They are capable of hacking and manual winding. If you're not sure what those are, there's plenty of videos that talk about that. I'll tell you really quick. Hacking means that when you pull out the crown to set the time, the second hand stops. It allows you to set the time more accurately. So that way you can set it with your cell phone, for instance, or with your laptop. That way you can set the time on the second, which is great. And then it doesn't have the capability of hand winding, which means you can't pull out the crown and wind it. Okay, no big deal, okay? The reason those two caveats about the old movement as compared to the new movements are no big deal is because of this. This can be plus or minus 13, 20 seconds or so. And I've experienced plus or minus about 10 to 12 seconds a day. So if you have a watch that is having those huge swings like that, then it's really not as important to be able to set it right on the second because you're gonna lose or miss or whatever either way. This thing only has a 41-hour power reserve, which means once you've worn it and you've been charging it up by wearing it, it can hold a charge of inside the watch for about 41 hours. Once it's dead and that second hand stops and you go to wear it again, you can just wait until that second hand of your clock actually comes around. Just time it with your laptop or your cell phone, and when it does, you pick up your Seiko watch 5 seconds before that second hand gets to wherever your watch's second hand is, and you give it a little shake. Just like that. That's literally all it takes to start up that second hand and get it moving. And then there you are, timed pretty accurately within a few seconds of the actual time on your laptop. So the hacking part, that's kind of debunked a little bit. It's not that big of an issue. Then, when it comes to the hand wind, hand winding is okay when you are going to be wearing your watch, taking it off, and then you know that you're going to be wearing it in about a day or so, but not immediately the next morning. So let's say you only wore your watch to go to the grocery store, and maybe you didn't charge it up that much by wearing it because you can't wind it. So you have to wear it to charge it. You have to move it, but you didn't move that much. So then when you get home, you go to put your watch away, knowing you're probably going to wear it in 2 days, you can wind it so that way you charge it up a bit and then put it away so that way when you come and pick it up in 2 days, it has some charge to it. It's still running. That's where the hand winding comes in effect. With a watch like this, SKX009 with a 7S26 movement, you don't really need to pick it up and hand wind it to put it on because, once again, a couple of shakes and this guy's already running. It's so sensitive. I'm going to put a video here in a second that you're going to see where the watch is dead and it's just a couple of shakes to get it going again. Check that out. I just want to show you guys how easily it winds. so I don't want the buckle to hit itself. I'm just going to grab it, and I'm just going to shake it just a little bit right there. And you'll see that the second hand is now moving. So do you really need hand winding when it's capable of winding so easily? I have watches that are hand wind. It would take longer for me to unscrew the crown and wind it than it would just to do that. Now, about it being sort of outdated, the movement being older, a lot of the parts being older, there's some truth to that, but it's vintage classic awesome. There's YouTubers that do nothing but videos that talk about Seiko. There's YouTubers that mod Seiko. There's companies that mod Seikos, specifically the Seiko 5. They love modding this one. But just the timeless classic look of this watch, it gets attention. Whenever I wear this, I tend to get more attention than when I wear a much nicer, and a more expensive watch. This one originally cost me $175. I got this years ago. Back then, it was a great entry-level watch. If you're looking for a tool watch, something that's going to be automatic and extremely durable, this was the way to go. Now, of course, there are more modern watches like my Prospex here, or even, for instance, you can get something like this Citizen, which is an Echo Drive movement. And so basically, it just needs a little bit of light. It's got the Pepsi colored bezels. So there are other options. But just look at the timeless classic style and design of this watch with the polished case and the brush top. And then you have this beautiful double coin edge bezel. I mean, I just can't get over that bezel. It looks so great. The way that the two little double coin edges kind of work their way around, and then the dial itself is so simplistic. It doesn't have a whole lot going on. Take a look at these two right here. You'll see that the Seiko just happens to look a little bit less busy than the Citizen. It's just a cleaner dial. It looks just like something that I could wear and look at and enjoy looking at without there being too much mess and fuss going on inside of the dial. And I love that. It really, it kind of, when I wear my Tudor, for instance, my Tudor makes me think about this watch because of the way that they did the loomed hour markers and the way that it's just set up. And that blue dial, that deep blue dial, which you probably can't tell right here, and I'll put a close-up video of it. The blue dial itself has like a crystalline, glittery sand effect going on deep inside of it. And I don't know. I love that look. And I can't seem to find that. The Presages, the Seiko Presages, and even, stuff like this right here, this Prospex, they do have gorgeous dials. And this is one of those ones that has just a beautiful, gorgeous dial that goes from that light blue to dark blue. And it's just reminiscent of the ocean. And even though they have great dials, and the newer Seikos have amazing dials, something about the way this one is done, it just, I don't know, it hits differently. It hits right here. And sorry if I made a really not loud noise there with the microphone, but it hits. It's awesome. And Teddy kind of spoke to that. It really is something that is to be, revered, because it is an amazing watch. There are some things in it, of course, like he spoke to, that are a little bit outdated and antiquated, but for the most part, if you were to go and spend $300 on a watch like this today, you would still be doing okay. If you can find one of these in great nick for, $350 to $400, I would say it's still a good purchase, even though the movement is only biting at, 21,600, vibrations per minute, or vibrations per hour, sorry. And if you're not familiar with that, Teddy himself does a whole video that talks about movements. It's not a super fast movement. There are slower ones, but it's not super fast. But also with it not being super fast, in other words, it's got a lower vibrations per hour, it is a little bit more durable. It's less susceptible to parts being damaged and needing servicing quicker. Some of your watches that have a much higher vibrations per hour number can require servicing more often, or they're finicky, or if they get banged around, they can get out of whack a little easier because it's just a slightly more delicate movement on quite a few of them. But for the most part, this particular movement in here is like a tank. I've banged this up. I've taken this scuba diving. I've taken this in the water. I have worked on my bikes and cars and been out in the sun. I've done a lot, and the scratches are evident all up and down it. And I still like the fact that it tells great time, tells the date, tells the day, and it's just got the cool rotating bezel that still clicks really nicely. Hear that? Ooh, ooh. Isn't that awesome? This is just a great watch. So I can agree with Teddy. It's time to move on in certain things. So I have moved on. I can agree with that part. I have moved on, but I have not let go. So with that being said, I think that if you are to go and find yourself a Seiko SKX009 for under $500, that is in great condition. Get it. Anyways, I hope you enjoy the video. Please like and subscribe. Look down below in the comments. I'll put a link to where you can find some cool watches and stuff. Other than that, I will talk to you guys later. Bye. Check one, check one, check 1, 2. A checker 1, 2. Anyways.